What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Bcray News, 401 News, Bcray 401 News. It is a lot to talk about. Not keep you long. We're talking about P Diddy. We're talking about Beyonce, and we'll see what else we talk about along the way. Depends on how long we got left of how much detail we're going to. But let's go ahead and drop into P Diddy. So all y'all know, last week P Diddy case went to the jury. The jury took a little under a day and a half to render a verdict. But the first day, they said they came back with a verdict on all the charges except the RICO charge. They couldn't get to a unanimous decision on the RICO charge. The judge and the lawyers told them go back in there and seeking y'all come to an agreement. They went back in and they came out and they said, hey, we have a decision on all the charges. So at the end of the day, they only charged him with transportation. I think like sex worker transportation, something along those lines. That's what he found guilty for. So most people are asking, do you think he's going to pull a lot of time behind those charges? I don't think so. You have to look at a couple of things, right? First, you got to look at, this is his first offense. And then them charges, I think they're 10 years apiece for 20 years total, or I think they're 15 years apiece. One of the two is how it is in New York. I'm not 100% sure. If you know, just drop down in the comments. But you have to look at it this way. This man, they're going to give him time served for the time he's been in jail since the time they locked him up until his sentence, and they're going to give him time served. So if anything, I'm looking at he will probably spend maybe another 6-7 months in jail, and then they'll probably let him out, do the rest of his time on probation or house arrest, whatever you want to call it, halfway house, whatever along those lines. But P Diddy is not gonna spend much time in jail. To me, the question would be, what does the future look like for P Diddy and Bad Boy? That's what my questions are. Like, how many people is gonna really want to work for Puff Daddy anymore? Like, how many sponsors or brands is gonna want to work for P Diddy? I look at people like Ciroc. As Puff Daddy is like the brand, like Ciroc is his brand. And then you have to ask yourself, like, they have been quiet during this whole thing. They haven't said a word. So I think that brand and that sponsor will always stay. There's a couple of other things that I'm really concerned about. Like, is there gonna be a Bad Boy Records? That's the question. He is the founder and owner of Bad Boy Records. Like, is any after all this what's been going on, is there anybody want to be like, you know what, I'm gonna go work for Puff Daddy? Is anybody gonna say that? Which I seriously doubt. So I don't think there's gonna be much of Bad Boy left. But some things that I did think about during this whole case, right? Think about this whole case, right? I kind of kept up. I kept in and out with it. I started to think people like Mace. Y'all remember Mace? He was a rapper. He got out the rapping game. He went to Christian. He's a man of God now. But it makes me wonder, like, what do he know, or what did he do? Was he even part of this whole stuff when it comes to Puff Daddy and these freak offs and all this? Because these freak offs just didn't start. You and I both know they just didn't start. They've been going on for years. He just finally got caught with it. And then you look at like 112. 112, they was with Bad Boy. I think it was the So Def, and I think they came back to Bad Boy. Like, what do they know, or what did they not do to get the support of Puff Daddy like they should have had? Because if y'all grew up, Peaches and Cream, Fiend, 112 was on it. They was rising stars, and then all of a sudden they just poof and gone. Like, I think right after their last LP of self-entitled album 112, I think we didn't hear from them anymore after that. So it makes you think, like, what else happened for that? Well, they didn't want to be part of the freak offs. Maybe they knew too much about the freak offs and they said they're getting out of it. We don't know. I just feel like there is more to this story than what we got in court alone. And then, I think somebody asked me, do I believe Puff Daddy is guilty? Puff Daddy is as guilty as they come. That man is guilty, guilty, guilty. That man did everything the prosecution said that he did. He did every last one of every last bit of it. The problem was the prosecution failed to bring that burden of proof. They failed to bring the burden of proof, right? They just failed at it. I don't know, was they too overzealous, or the lawyer or the prosecutor just wasn't good at their job. They just didn't bring that burden of proof that the jury wanted to hear. And I think like trying to get regular everyday civilians or regular everyday people or citizens, however you want to call it, to understand RICO, it's already hard enough. They got to understand the law in which they're looking at. Now you want to throw something like RICO at them, and then on top of all these other charges, you put too much on too fast. If you should have, what you should have did, you should have just went for the RICO charge. Then they can just focus on the RICO charge. The prosecutor made them focus on the RICO charge, transportation of prostitution, drugs, transportation. You made them focus on too much too fast, and then that's what I believe that's what got the prosecution in trouble. I kept telling y'all from day one, prosecution was not proving the RICO charges whatsoever. It was not going in that direction. Then okay, I guess I'll say it like this. When the defense got there, they said we're not putting nobody on the stand. That's when you already knew that the prosecution failed to give the burden of proof it needed for the RICO. The defense already knew that. They already knew it. That's why they did exactly what they did, was send it to the jury. The defense already knew that already, and I believe his lawyers were very smart. He paid good money for him, but I've also heard people talking about some like, he paid his lawyer all this money. His lawyers what got him off. Yeah, his lawyers what got him off too. But also you gotta look at the jury. The jury played a huge role in it. The lawyers, all they could do is plead their case to the jury, and then the jury can make a decision. That's all it was. Maybe the prosecution needs to look at maybe some better state attorneys, maybe. I don't know. But that's my take on that. Like I said, Puff Daddy is going to be out very soon. I don't think he's going to pull too much more time in jail. Teach his own. I just hope the future Puff Daddy gets out and then he just focus on other things other than what he was doing. I think he's going to continue to freak off. It's going to happen. I think he's just a freaky man. He's old and he's just a freaky man, and he's going to continue his freak off. So hopefully he'll be a little bit smarter at it this time and won't beat people and all this other crazy mess he did to get what he needed. So hopefully he learned his lesson and he'll move on from that. If not, if they get new information, they're going to drag him right back into court. And I think this time RICO will stick. All right, let's talk about Beyonce. So I think it was her show in Houston. She was doing 16 carriages. I think I want to call it 16 carriages. Is it 16 carriages? Yes, 16 carriages. She was doing 16 carriages, and then I guess in the show she's riding an old Cadillac in the air, and the Cadillac got stuck. So she was singing, and then all you heard her say was stop, 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 stop. Like she said stop like 4 times, and then they were just stuck. So they had to get her down, and I think the Beehive was kind of extra with it, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think there are things in place for her when stuff like that happen. I think there's precautions in place, and there's things in place that if something like that happen, they know what to do to get her down safe. What I can say, her professionalism was off the chain. Like they stopped the music. She wasn't upset. She didn't seem mad. They brought her back down. She kept a smile on her face. She went back up on stage, and next thing you know, the show continued. But the next night, she did not do 16 carriages. So it is the professionalism that she had. But I can almost guarantee some people may have got fired after that, because you just don't leave somebody like that up in the air like that. But like I said, that was a mechanical issue. So she's good. She's fine. She continued on. She did a 4th of July show. It was really outfitted in all her 4th of July. Like, her her flag colored clothes. You know, I didn't go to none of her concerts because it's a lot. It's a lot. First off, it was expensive. And then second off, I'm in the middle of this whole move thing. So there was no way to squeeze in a Beyonce concert for that time. But for those of y'all that went, I heard nothing but good things about it. Beyonce continued to be one of the highest grossing females to go on tour. If she got to be in the top 3. Because I think I read somewhere she's probably one of the only women top gross who went to London and sold out every show. So it is what it is. While we're on Beyonce, while we're talking about Beyonce, let's go ahead and talk about her husband, Jay-Z. Rumors are swirling heavy. Rumors are swirling good. And they are coming from everywhere, from Shade Room, all over, talking about that Jay-Z may be the performer for the Super Bowl next year. Is it next year? Yeah, Super Bowl for next year. So I guess Jay-Z said, look, he'll do it himself this year. He's gonna show y'all how to really do it. So hopefully he is. That lets me know Jay-Z might be making a comeback, because we haven't heard anything from Jay-Z since 444, I think it was. Last time we heard something from Jay-Z. So hopefully Jay-Z trying to make a comeback. His wife out here killing it. He just at home chilling. He been a stay-at-home dad, I guess. But nah, he has a lot of other adventures going on outside, you know, working for NFL for the music and all this other stuff he has going on. So Jay-Z is doing good, but he hasn't put out any music in a while. So hopefully, if these rumors are correct and he do the Super Bowl, hopefully we get to see a new Jay-Z album come out behind it, and maybe he throws some appearances up there from Beyonce. Never know. She threw him on her record, so we'll see what happens there. So yeah, man. Jay-Z hasn't been out in a minute. That's ironic. Next thing we're talking about. Let's go ahead and move and talk about this big, beautiful bill that has been on the news forever. All right, so this big, beautiful bill. I looked at parts of this big, beautiful bill. I looked at parts of them dealing with Medicaid, SNAP, and I looked at parts dealing with no taxes on tips and no taxes on overtime. I looked at those two things, and I looked at those two things because that's what really affects me and the people that I know, right? So I'm gonna break this down in a couple different ways. No tax on tips and no tax on overtime. I 100% agree with that one. I believe that if you are working in a profession where you gotta get a tip, your tip should not be taxed. You gotta think, if I give somebody $1 tip and it's taxed, half of that dollar is already gone. You know? So that is the big thing that I agree with that. I'm on board with that. That is good to go. No tax on overtime. I'm a firm believer of that, because most people who made so much overtime, and I think you get most of this back when it comes to you file your taxes. But it looks like when people file taxes, right, or they make all this overtime, now they're over what they're supposed to make. Now they owe the government back, and that's not fair. So you're trying to say I can't make overtime to help my family or put a little bit extra money in my pocket without, now I'm making more money. Now I'm gonna get taxed more for making that money. So good job that. I think the no tax on overtime is gonna help a lot of families get the money that they deserve in this bad economy right now as well. When it comes to Medicare and it comes to SNAP, that is where I am kind of at a divide at, right? The reason why I said this, there's a lot of people that's currently on SNAP and that's currently on Medicare, right? And I don't care what color you are, black, white, green, purple, polka dot, Mexican, Latina, whatever. There's a lot of people that's on those two big things, right? But there's a lot of people that abuse the system when it comes to Medicaid and SNAP. There are people that abuse it. And when I say they abuse it, they just sit and they just ride it. They continue to have kids. They don't want to work anywhere. They continue to have kids. They just don't want to work. They don't want to work. They have kids. And then and it goes back to those hard people that's out there working overtime, that's working jobs, that is paying for these people to sit at home and collect Medicaid and collect SNAP. I think what the bill is trying to say. They are putting stipulations in on when a person can and cannot get SNAP and can and cannot get Medicaid. Meaning, if you don't work so many hours, you won't get Medicaid. If you don't work, if you got kids and you still don't work so many hours, you still won't get Medicaid. You have to put forth an effort to either looking for a job or working a job to continue your Medicare coverage and continue your SNAP coverage. That's my take of it. That is my take of it. And like I said, that's how I read it. That's how I view it. That's how I see it. If it's wrong or my view is wrong or you have a different view of it, let me know down in the comments and we can discuss it. You know what I'm saying? We're more than happy to discuss things with you or read your comments online or what's that and the third. But that's the way I see it. That's the way I see it when it comes to Medicaid SNAP. The flip side of that is this. You have a lot of sick people that's currently on Medicaid and SNAP. And if they don't put the parameters in the system right of who stays on Medicare and who get kicks off Medicaid, a lot of these people who can't work or who are what we call they are caretakers for elderly people, who the elderly people gets, Medicaid, SNAP and all that. If they don't put the right parameters in, that's going to stop. And now you're going to have more people who deserve it can't have it because of the red tape that is put in from state to state and from government. And as y'all have seen so far, the government hasn't shown they know how to put parameters in right for people to understand what the rules are. So hopefully this administration will do better than what they've been doing when it comes to putting rules in, when it comes to Medicaid and when it comes to SNAP. I hope so. I'm trying to be what word I'm looking for. I'm trying to be positive about it and that they would do it and we won't see that many people come off Medicaid and SNAP. But I think it's gonna be some issues, there's gonna be some problems. We just gotta continue to look out for each other until this administration kick it into gear. The last thing I want to talk about is this attack on Iran, right? So y'all know, I think like 2 weeks ago, Trump ordered these fighter jets to go over, drop some bombs in those nuclear sites and go on his merry little way. And then he came out and said that it was obliterated and, they will never be able to do it again. And he said this within like 24 hours of the attack. And then I think his government intelligence people came out and said well, we didn't obliterate it. We just stopped it a little bit. We set it back a couple of months. And then Trump and PDP came out there. They all mad and whatever. Here's my take on that. And I think I talked about this in my last one too. Here's my take on that. Words mean stuff. And you are the president of the United States. If nobody else understands what words mean, it should be you. No one is talking about the great job that these Air Force people did when they flew all the way over there and dropped them bombs. I salute them. They did a fantastic job. Mission accomplished. Their mission was to fly over there, drop some bombs, keep on strolling. Mission accomplished. The Navy people that's out in the ocean that shot Tomahawk missiles, fantastic. Mission accomplished. Fantastic job. They did freaking great. Always have my support. Here's the problem. The president should never came out and said it was obliterated first anyway. What he should have came out and said, mission was a success, pending reports from Intel. That's what he should have said. And he did not do it. And that's why people are holding on to his words. And then you got these leaks coming out that said you really didn't obliterate anything. You just set their stuff back maybe month, 3 months, And then they're already showing imagery right now of the Iranian people already trying to go inside. They're trying to go inside they're trying to go inside the bunker that was bombed. They're already trying to make their way in. So we're gonna see in time was it obliterated. I personally don't think so from the reports that I'm reading about, and I know I'm a CNN news cat, and I know y'all like, well, you know, CNN always lean towards the Democrat side, and Fox always lean towards the Republican side. And then you gotta take me being in Intel, not being an Intel person, but being in Intel. I understand the differences between, you know, what news broadcasts briefs and how they brief, but I also understand, like, in the middle, there's somewhere some truth inside of that inside of both of their stories. So I take that and I analyze myself by what I can find online from different news or different credible sources to bring you what I feel that it's going to be. You know, I think we did set them back a few years, maybe, but I don't think it's a few weeks. I think it's gonna be years. I think by the time Trump get out of office, it's gonna come back up again. So that's that. You know, it's just one of those things. Also, the last thing I want to hit up, there was rumors today. I've seen it. It's been alleged. It's just rumors I've seen so far that Cardi B may be pregnant with Mr. Diggs' baby. So we don't know. But in that same note, I also saw reports today that she has deleted all his pictures off her Instagram too. They said that they might be having a little splat right now. So who knows? Like, the gossip is good, right? The gossip is bubbling with them two. Like, to me, they make a beautiful couple. They both got one kid up. Well, I know he got one kid and she has three. Maybe she has two. But so they both have kids. So they bringing kids to the relationship. So I feel like they make a beautiful couple, but the rumors are swirling. So my question to y'all, do y'all think she's pregnant? And do you think her and Stefan Diggs have broken up? Let me know. But that's all I got for y'all today. I think this video is a little long, so I took my glasses off, so I really can't see the time up there. But look, I'm right at 20 some minutes. People continue to love and appreciate. I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that again. People, thank you for all you do for me. I love and appreciate every single last one of y'all. Thank you for what y'all do for yourselves, what you do for your families, what you do for the world. You will always appreciate it, and I love you. Keep encouraging one another, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.